The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on our live shows.
Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of This Week in Guns is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and Patriot Patch Company.
And this show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Sean Herron. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest tonight, coming back to us from the Off-Road Podcast, also a shipper of freedom at Rainier Arms, Benjamin Allred. Welcome back, buddy.
How's it going, Sean?
Very well, sir. Next up, we've got a freelance gun journalist covering industry news, products, and reviews for a variety of online publications, in addition to serving as Instagram's favorite micro warrior. Please welcome back Jackie Billings.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Glad to have both of you here. Super excited. Real quick, let me talk about our advertisers. We've got the Patriot Patch Company. You can see the little coupon code if you're watching the video. It's right up there. PatriotPatch.co is the place to do it. I recommend signing up for the Patch of the Month Club. It's a lot of fun. And also Manticore Arms. If you have any guns and you would like to make them cooler and better, Manticore Arms is the place to go. Transformer Rail is what I recommend. Just go check it out. ManticoreArms.com. Coupon code is TWG10. Gets you 10% off your entire order. And guys, it is now time to get this show started. First story, Connecticut gun makers consider leaving the state. Not a whole lot here. It does come to us from guns.com, but basically says that high taxes and strict laws encourage gun manufacturers to abandon Connecticut, according to a new report published last month. Doesn't necessarily mention exactly which companies they're talking about here, but some of the companies that are there are Colt Manufacturing Company, Sturm Ruger and Company. A couple of those have long called Connecticut home. Talks about how a company called Classic Carbines and Firearms made the move to South Carolina in 2016. Jackie, why don't you start us off? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's not hard to imagine why these companies are leaving. When you have strict laws against guns and gun makers, it kind of makes it tough to stay. The sad thing that I don't think, lawmakers sometimes understand is the economical impact, though, that this has. Not only is that taking money away from the state, but people losing out on jobs unless they move with a company. They're being laid off, and that's sad.
Yeah, definitely. Ben?
Yeah, it's coming down to companies voting with their feet. You don't like the laws that are going on, you leave, and people are going to lose their jobs, and it's not going to be the company's fault. It's going to be the government's fault, and that's who those people are going to end up blaming.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, this is definitely tough. We saw it here in Colorado with Magpul, even though they had a, I don't even know what they called the legal term, but they basically were allowed to make the magazines, even though they weren't allowed to sell the 30-round magazines here in Colorado. They definitely took up and went somewhere else. And, it's a big loss for Colorado. It's a loss of a company. It's a loss of, just like Jackie said, lots of jobs, lots of local stimulation to the economy. Those workers go, they buy things, and yeah, it's huge. So yeah, Connecticut, they're probably happy about it. The lawmakers there, that would be my suspicion. But I think for the real world, for the people who make sandwiches and, do other things there, I think they definitely see a hit. I just said definitely like 47 times in a row, so my bad. Education Secretary DeVos considers using federal funds to arm schools. This comes to us from MSN.com. I read this earlier. It is kind of interesting. Under a proposed, let's see, the page just jumped. Sorry. The Education Department is considering whether to allow states to use federal funding to purchase guns for educators, according to multiple people with knowledge of the plan. Actually, very interesting. Such a move appears to be unprecedented. There are laws in place to prevent this, but they believe that they've actually found a loophole. A program in federal education law, the Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grants, makes no mention of prohibiting weapons purchases. That omission would allow the Education Secretary DeVos to use her discretion to approve any state or district plans to use grant funding for firearms and firearm training unless Congress clarifies the law or bans such funding through legislative action. The paragraph that, that I was interested in, department officials acknowledged that should the Education Department carry out the proposal, it would appear to be the first time that a federal agency has authorized the purchase of weapons without a congressional mandate, according to people familiar with the discussions. And while no such restrictions exist in the federal education law, It could undermine the grant program's adoption of drug and violence prevention, which defines a safe school environment as free of weapons. The problem, guys, is that these criminals bring firearms into the schools. They don't care that it's a gun-free zone. Gun-free zone only affects the people who would legally want to help in those situations. Ben, thoughts?
Criminals don't follow laws, and it's coming down to who is going to follow them. And I think it's a great idea of using school funds. It's what, security. You're securing your school, protecting your children. Why not?
Agreed, Jackie?
Well, I mean, I think school shootings are an educational issue, and you're talking about funds, devoted to educational issues. So, I think it's definitely worth exploring.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I truly believe that this has no chance in 1,000 years of actually passing, being done, anything ever coming of it. But the fact that it's even being discussed and covered on MSN, I do find it very interesting. Firearms training would be a great thing. I think as long as it's done properly, which we know our government may or may not be, but I think just to even be talking about it is kind of a different thing than we've ever seen before. Next story is 17.25 million concealed carriers. Biggest jump is women and minorities. Now, I looked through all these statistics, and it is women are up 111% in concealed carry permit issuances. And that's not even considering the states that have constitutional carry. So, Jackie, what were your thoughts when you looked at these numbers?
Well, I think it's wonderful that we're seeing such an uptick in women and minorities. I think it shows the progress that the gun industry has made in trying to bring these groups of people in. I think it shows the awareness that's been raised, and I was really excited to see that kind of jump. I think it's fantastic.
I completely agree. Was there any other numbers that jumped out at you?
The woman number was the one that kind of just took the cake for me, because 111% is huge. I mean, I figured it had gone up a little bit, but I wasn't expecting that kind of jump. Yeah,
I completely agree. Izzy, I'm sorry, Ben.
I'm kind of not surprised. I've moved to the front end of Rainier Arms. I see our customers coming through. Minorities, huge portion of my sales. And on top of that, women are huge, and they come in and they have questions, and it's, getting them the right answers and going to the classes. My wife just recently attended a class that's aimed towards women, and she said that their classes are full all the time. My wife had to schedule out 2 months to get into this gal's class, and it's worth seeing.
Yeah, I agree. And so let's see. So blacks with permits grew 20% faster than whites. Permits for Asians grew 29% faster than for whites. There's 4 states with over 1 million permit holders. Those states are Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Texas. Alabama has the highest concealed carry permit rate of 22.1% of their population. So 2 out of every 10 people. And the national average, guys, is about 1 out of every 10. So I think good news. And to see women, minorities grow, that's huge to me. I love it. And to the people who are out there pushing for that stuff, keep up the great work. Next story, Auto Ordnance releases case hardened 1911. This was written by someone I've known it at some point. Who wrote this, Jackie?
I don't know. It's some journalist. She's always popping up.
Always popping up. Tell us about this.
So basically, Auto Ordnance is on this roll right now of putting out custom vintage style guns. I mean, like, we're rolling, sometimes 2 and 3 a week right now. But for this one, it's a case hardened 1911 chambered in 45 ACP. It's based on their G1 platform. And it's pretty. I mean, it's got this really pretty swirly design, checkered wood grips, U.S. military logo on the grips. 7 rounds and about $1,300 are the bullet points, we'll say. It's a pretty little gun. I ain't gonna lie.
It's beautiful. Ben, did you take a look at this one?
Yeah, I'm looking at it and I like it. It's a 1911. They jam.
I don't even know, man. I love 1911s. I own several. I've shot several in competition. Carried one. I love them all. You cut out, buddy.
I said I love mine as well.
Case hardened. That's something that always attracts my eye. Anytime I see anything that's case hardened, and for the people who don't know, it's kind of that dark rainbowish, that dark. I don't even know how to describe it, but it looks marbled and pretty, and there's a lot of colors depending on how you hold them. So definitely pretty. And thank you to Jackie Billings and our friends over at guns.com for bringing us that story. Next story, Cody Wilson gives the left another reason to hate him, just as they thought that they could celebrate. Cody Wilson always just taking away their great plans. And here's the thing. So Cody Wilson, basically all the attorney generals are suing him and putting injunctions against him. So he had to take down all the firearm plans, the 3D printed firearms plans from Defense Distributed and Ghost Gunner and all that good stuff. And then even though he basically was told by the Justice Department when they dropped the case and gave him $40,000 that he was allowed to do so. And so everyone was pretty scared about it. And then Jackie, what happened?
Cody Wilson did what Cody Wilson does and said, screw y'all, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yep, he sure did. And in that, and what he meant by doing his own thing was, okay, well, the judge's order stops us from simply giving things away. Was now we can sell them. So he's got them up there, and it's no given price. People can pay whatever they would like to pay and download these plans. And I think, and I mean, from his quotes here, it basically looks like he was just waiting for the judge to say that he couldn't give those away, because immediately he put them up for sale and said that the judge's ruling was basically authorization that we could sell it, that we could mail it, that we could email it, that we could provide it by secure transfer. And he is now doing all of those things right now. You can find those at Defense Distributed. Just Google that and it'll take you right to it. Ben, what do you think about this?
I laugh at the champion of loopholes right there.
Yes.
Here's my clap for you, Cody. Seriously, the champion of loopholes. And if you guys get a chance, I would suggest going and looking at those files. Seriously, throw the guy the money for him, and they are not crappy quality files. These are really good quality files too, and
super high quality STL files.
Yeah. So the fact that, hey, you gotta deal out a little money. Well, it's not as bad as the amount of my attorney general here in Washington is dealing out wasting money on these suits. So please help Cody Wilson out.
And, I downloaded these like the day they were put up right before the injunction came and he had to take them back down. Downloaded all of them. But unfortunately, guys, I lost that flash drive in a boating accident. So I guess I'll just have to go buy them again. Next story, 3 Texan teens arrested for plotting school attack. This is kind of an interesting one. A student overheard some kids talking about launching an attack at a school using explosives and firearms. They notified administrators. Administrators notified law enforcement. These 3 were arrested and charged with making a terroristic threat, which is a misdemeanor at this point. Jackie, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm really glad they were caught before anything bad happened, first and foremost. And I think in this situation, you got to applaud the students who recognized that there was something kind of fishy going on and reported them, the administrators who listened to the concerns, and then law enforcement who stepped in and investigated. I think this is how the change should work. And I'm glad that, people were taken seriously and they were stopped.
Yeah. Ben?
It's back to the old see something, say something. And it's good to see them take action when they heard something. I applaud these kids. We need more of them out there like that.
Yeah, I agree. I always wonder I always wonder what the repercussions are. So these kids charged with making terroristic threats, a misdemeanor. So they're not going to do any jail time. They're going to go to court. They're going to go through the system. It's going to be a thing. They probably have supervised probation. They're probably going to be restricted individuals from firearms and things like that. But the problem is that these people don't care about laws. They don't care about what their restrictions are. They just want to do what they want to do. One of these little nuggets was actually crying in his mugshot. I believe I saw, and I don't even want to call these guys kids. They're scumbags, and I worry that scumbags are going to be scumbags regardless of what this is. Do you guys think that there may be further repercussions from these kids just based on this whole thing? Jackie, I'll start with you.
It's hard to tell. I hope that the kids, I'm kind of like you. It's hard to call them kids. I hope that they learn their lesson, and I hope they get the help they need. More than anything, I hope somebody recognizes these kids are not mentally well and gets them further help.
Yeah. Ben?
The, yeah, though the fact being that they're kids, I wonder if that wouldn't make them a restricted individual unless they get charged as an adult for those terroristic threats.
Yeah, I don't know, and explosives too. So it's like I feel like this isn't the end of the story for these criminals.
And hope help they need. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to a point, but I would also throw them in a dark hole and just let them stay there for the rest of their lives, as far as I'm concerned. When you talk about shooting up schools, when you talk about committing mass murders, things like that, it's not a big line from talking about it to actually going and doing it. And I think that they're ruined as far as I'm concerned.
The next step's chopping up kittens, right? Or skinning them, or
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've never chopped up a kitten, so I think I'm safe. Next story, illegal gun factory discovered in the UK, which, I mean, guns are illegal, guys, so there shouldn't be any of this. But the UK police did find a sophisticated illegal gun factory, lots of machines. They said that they specialized in what was a gearbox repair business, lots of machines and components suspected to be used to make firearms and ammunition. They found, I don't know, it looks like 20 rounds of ammunition there. And kind of interesting, this basically the arrests were made on Saturday after officers heard bangs which sounded like gunshots from inside the unit in the town of Hailsham, and a taser was used in one of the 3 arrests. But 2 handguns and ammunition and guns in various stages of production were also recovered. Ben, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, criminals aren't going to follow the law, right? So
Yeah.
I'm kind of not surprised. I'm surprised that they used a taser. I mean, being Europe, don't they use batons there instead?
Yeah, and harsh words.
Harsh words. Got to have the harsh words.
Yep, absolutely. Jackie, thoughts on this?
Kind of what Ben said. I mean, just criminals don't follow laws de facto. So, it's just silly to have laws in general. But yeah, obviously these guys are doing their own thing. So
yeah. So in the headline, it says UK police find sophisticated illegal gun factory. And then when it talks about what they found 2 handguns and ammunition, which looks like 20 rounds is my guess, and guns in various stages of production. So not much of a factory is my thought.
Not very sophisticated either.
No, my guess is it was just some people that were probably hobbyists messing around making some stuff and maybe got caught. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I just try to speculate because that doesn't seem like a factory. Ben, final thoughts on this one?
Looking at their mug shots, I'm going to go with they're probably just I'll stay there.
UK pair gets life and 20-year sentences for converting blank guns to fire real ammo. This comes to us from The Sun, and these guys were wow. One of them got a life sentence. His accomplice got jailed for 20 years. There was a firearms factory. That word again was uncovered in a garden shed. They smuggled scores of blank firing handguns and ammunition into the country from the Czech Republic. And that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot of other stuff. They call them gangland gun salesmen. I'm just kind of wondering, is this the same thing as the other one? They called it factory, but it's really only a couple guns. I don't know. Jackie, thoughts?
Well, I mean, again, bad guys, if you will, aren't going to follow laws. So this is just, again, further proof that having a gun laws doesn't really stop people from finding guns, making guns, doing what they want with guns,
Yep. Ben?
People want to protect themselves, and they're going to find a way to do it. So, yeah.
I'm curious about a life sentence. Wow. Does that not just seem like an incredible penalty? There's no numbers or anything associated with this, so I guess I can't really gauge, but wow, life sentence for making some guns out of blank guns.
Well, they're smuggling too. And, Europe, they hate smugglers.
They do hate smugglers. So.
Life sentence.
Gotta, this is the same kind of thing that'll eventually happen in places like California, Chicago, New York, and other places that hate guns and have really, really strict penalties for anything like that. Someday someone could serve life in prison for turning a blank gun into a normal gun. And, I get it. It's the law. The law is the law. Don't break the law. But wow. Moving into the next segment, 3 dead, including suspect at Jacksonville Madden NFL game competition. I think you've probably heard about the story, but there was a guy got eliminated from the tournament, went outside to his car, came back in with a firearm, opened fire, 2 dead, multiple injured, killed himself. And Jackie, I'm gonna start with you, but wow, what do you think?
Well, this I think falls in line with a lot of what we've seen recently. And this is why I think it's so important that mental health awareness be kind of brought to the forefront. I know a lot of people are wanting to point at guns again, but, we're talking about a suspect who obviously seemed to have some family issues, some mental health issues. I think they said he'd been, committed or had sought help twice already. And so obviously he was crying out for help. He needed help. And I think this is just further proof that we need to, help sick people find the care that they need and pay attention to the signs. And, even as parents, pay attention to our kids and realize when they're not emotionally healthy and when they can't handle the rigors of a video game, that's when you got to step in and do your job as a parent to prevent, stuff like this from happening.
Ben?
Or a football game. I mean, really?
Yeah.
This just it's getting ridiculous. I'm curious where the guy got the gun.
He bought them legally, passed background checks and everything.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And not only that, but he bought them legally in Massachusetts, which has it's May issue, lots of requirements just to buy a firearm, and you have to have your own /carry permit to be able to even buy them. He broke all the laws.
Yeah,
he was in a gun-free zone.
Coming down to the authorities failing to then doing it. They should have caught this on his background check, and it's kind of a shame.
Did either of you guys notice just his dead eyes? I watched an interview with him being specifically interviewed about the tournament, talking about being the 7th seed and feeling like he should be a lot more than that. Pictures of him throughout the tournament. Maybe this is just clever, pandering to show what the mainstream media wants to show. But the dude had just the dead eyes, blank stare that you see in every other mass killer that we see in the news and on TV.
Yeah, I saw it too. He kind of creeped me out.
He really did. That blank stare, dead eyes, man. It's interesting, and you see people like that every now and then, and it makes me wonder. It's a very consistent physical trait that you see on a lot of these guys, and not having that blank stare and dead eyes makes you a murderer, but we're seeing it more and more. And I just have to agree with both you guys that there's definitely a mental health issue, a mental health crisis. I don't know what the answer is. I know the system is broken, but wow. Next story, California gives criminals a get out of jail free card. This one I thought was kind of interesting. And it's basically California will be the first state to eliminate bail and will free nonviolent suspects within 24 hours. The headline on Fox News is incorrect. The bill gives officials 24 hours to determine whether other suspects should be released before trial. That time can be extended by 12 hours if necessary. But basically what they did is they reformed the bail system. So if it's not someone with a felony or a serious violent felony, they can just be let go on their own recognizance to go back to court whenever they need to go back to court. And I also think that our judicial and our law, our justice systems are a bit broken. And for nonviolent things, do you think that this might be a good idea, Ben?
Well, this is a good time to become a drug dealer in California, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go in, get a felony for selling drugs, and back out in 24 hours to sell some more.
Yeah.
What's next? And it's not violent, selling them.
Totally. It looks like nonviolent misdemeanors would be the ones that'll be let go, but I don't know.
No running gun, alcohol then.
Right. Exactly. Jackie?
Well, I mean, the first thing that stuck out to me was leave it to California to take people's guns away, but then release criminals. Kind of seems like a very California thing to do. Mm-hmm. But,
change in the system is coming in California.
Oh, great. That's sorry.
No. So for nonviolent misdemeanors, the system is already clogged up enough as it is. So I don't really think I have a big issue with them releasing, petty drug dealers and things like that. But I think there is kind of a line you have to be careful of, and hopefully they're going to do some screening, because it doesn't take a huge jump to go from a petty criminal to committing violent acts. Something goes down wrong, all of a sudden turns into a murder. So
yeah, but I mean, for stuff like speeding tickets or
for a speeding ticket, and yeah, stuff like that is I think a given. It clogs up the system too much, so let them out. That's fine.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Anything else on that one, guys? All right. Amazon bans Liberator code book, still sells nuclear weapons books and others. So there was a book. It was released on Amazon. We talked about Cody Wilson and Defense Distributed and DefCAD and all that earlier. This was called the Liberator Codebook, an exercise in freedom of speech. It has been removed. The webpage on Amazon shows an error file. It was just basically an STL file published as a book. And it's kind of interesting because Amazon also sells a wide range of instruction manuals detailing how to construct improvised weapons. The Anarchist Cookbook is available for sale on the site. The U.S. Army Improvised Munitions Handbook is available for sale. The U.S. Army Special Forces Guide to Unconventional Warfare Devices and Techniques for Incendiaries is listed for purchase. And the U.S. Department of Army Field Manual on Booby Traps is available on the site as well. So we are a victim of publicity here, and it's exactly what I think the mainstream media wants. Amazon reacting to this, even though there's far more deadly things on Amazon. Jackie, what do you think?
Yeah, this was a curious case. I actually wrote about this on Monday, and when I was researching it, it was one of those things that I'm like, this is kind of silly, because we have the Anarchist Cookbook, which I think is probably more dangerous than, the Liberator Codebook would be, and that's okay. But, some files, printed in a book, that's not, and I think it's a publicity issue. It's a hot issue right now. So it's easy to just kind of go all in on this, which is silly. And I mean, we're starting to touch in on free speech and First Amendment. And I think anytime you start banning books or, restricting books, that's a really bad way to go.
Yeah. Ben?
You hit the nail on the head with the banning books thing. It's kind of hilarious, especially when there is like the Anarchist Cookbook. I don't know if you guys have ever looked in one. I have, and there's some quite interesting stuff in there that I definitely would not like my kids to read. Obviously, that's not the school library, but once they get old enough, I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard to get an Amazon gift card and buy one.
Oh yeah, it's just so insane to me because. Okay, so you take the Liberator Codebook, you take that, then you have to scan it in, do object character recognition to actually get everything and hope that everything goes correctly. Then you have to compile that into an STL file. And then, I mean, this is like difficult. This is way more difficult than plugging an STL file into a 3D printer and printing that out. Like way more difficult than that. But there is literally a book where you can just go down to your local hardware store, buy a few things, and it shows you how to make bombs. And there's 3 or 4 of those literally there for sale on Amazon. This is just so stupid, in my opinion.
Doesn't the Anarchist Cookbook talk about how to do a single fire shotgun too?
Yeah, I mean, it talks about all kinds of things that could be considered dangerous in the wrong hands.
More dangerous than the Liberator as far as a single shot, literally, pipe and shotgun. Yeah.
I don't know. But guys, we're saved, fortunately, because there's now a phone case that will reportedly detect weapons from 40 feet away. This comes to us from AmmoLand. It's a company called, let's see, I just had it and then I lost it. The product is called Sword, and the company is called Royal Holdings. But basically, it's a phone case that's got 18 or 19 different satellite or whatever. I don't even really understand how that technology could possibly work, but it's basically a phone case. It's got a bunch of different sensors, and it compares the readings that it gets back from its sensors against their database of firearms and knives and things like that, and can alert you from up to 40 feet away if someone has a firearm or a knife. Sounds very similar to me to the technology that was being put into place in one of the Las Vegas hotels so they could tell if someone had a firearm in their luggage. I highly doubt this will ever see the light of day, but if it did, Jackie, what would you think?
I mean, if it did, my first thing would be privacy issue, because, it's really none of anybody's business what I have on me at any given time. So that would concern me. And then I would want to know, technologically speaking, what somebody's able to see or detect, because as a woman, I'm not sure I'm okay with people being able to peek in on me.
I completely agree. It's insanity, Ben.
I remember them saying what it was that they used the radio frequency waves, but I can't find it on this article. But it's funny because there's those bags that you get like a computer hard drive in, that blocks radio waves and all that.
Static bag.
An anti-static bag would literally block it. So yeah, I could probably conceal carry my gun in an anti-static bag.
Yeah,
And
I'm already putting my phone in tinfoil, so I mean, why not?
why not? It's good luck. Something stupid like this when technology's getting smarter than the people that are stupider than the people that are around it.
Yeah, I feel like we're being punked on this one, guys. I don't know. This would be impressive technology to say the least. I mean, it's a new age and a new world order if this comes to pass. Oklahoma teen stabbed 14-year-old girl because she friend zoned him. Dang, this is an interesting one, and a very tough one to read. She told him that she liked him as a friend, but wanted to continue the friendship and hoped that they remain friends. He waited until school. It was a back to school assembly at the high school and didn't say anything, just stood up and stabbed and slashed her 9 to 11 times in the middle of the assembly. And I would be curious to see, obviously these are minors, so they're not releasing pictures or anything like that, but I would be curious to see if this kid had the dead eyes. What do you think, Ben?
That's actually what I was just thinking. Does this kid have the dead eyes? Like maybe that's why she friend zoned him.
Yeah, probably not a well-adjusted kid with a bright future. Jackie?
Yeah, this probably does have the dead eyes, but I think this, this is like every woman's fear every time we have to tell a guy no or we're not interested. I think every woman has this playing in the back of their mind. And I think it continues back to that whole mental health and raising as a parent emotionally well-adjusted kids, that they can handle this kind of thing. It's really heartbreaking to hear stories like this.
And after going through all the stories today, I was just like, people, control y'all's kids.
Right? Yeah, like do something.
What is happening? Oh, man. Very tough. Hopefully she recovers. And, even though physically she may recover, gosh, emotionally, this is going to be really tough to come back from. I wish her all the best. And just imagine the next time a boy asks her out what she's going to go through. Awful. Mm-hmm. Awful. Houston cop asked security guard to stop filming and helping arrest violent suspects. She continued filming. Pulled over a car because it was suspected in a crime. Guy gets out. They start arguing, whatever. The officer tackles the 17-year-old at a gas station. Some anonymous citizen comes up and tries to help. The cop is on top of the dude. The dude grabs his handcuffs. The citizen takes the handcuffs away from him. And then the cop notices that there is a security guard in security guard uniform walking around just filming him. And he yells at her, stop effing filming and help me. And she never goes. She never helps. Then the guy on the ground actually reaches for the gun, touches the firearm. You can clearly see that he grabs it. And this could have ended really badly. But what a scumbag that security guard is, or security person, or whatever they happen to be, is. Just wow. Ben?
It's one of those people who didn't say please. That's why. Really? Not really. It's frustrating, especially when you're a security guard. Seriously, you're a security guard. That's your job, is to help the police. You're literally the person who's reporting to them.
I always like to say that there's a few different people in a traumatic situation. There's helpers, there's watchers, there's documenters. And the documenters are the ones that annoy me the most, because there's people who will just put their hands on their head out of frustration because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to help. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get hurt. They want to go home. There's people that will help, like this anonymous guy that, tries to help out and does what he can. And then these documenters, the people who just video it for World Star or whatever it happens to be, that annoy me. They're dangerous and they're irresponsible. And I think they're scumbags personally. Jackie, what do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm a documenter for a living, but I think in a situation like this, especially if somebody is calling out for your help and your job as a security guard, is to help people, to just stand there and watch an officer struggle like that. I mean, I don't understand that mentality. You have an anonymous guy who runs in to help. Like, put your phone down and help this officer. He's obviously trying to detain this guy without, gunfire, without, too much violence. Like, do your part.
Yeah. Just wow. I'm very flabbergasted tonight on a lot of these stories because they seem so crazy to me. Mm-hmm. Moving into the I'm offended segment, we've got Cook County gun tax upheld in court. This went into place, it looked like 2013 when I was reading it earlier. This is a tax, $25 per gun and up to 5 cents per round tax in Cook County, which, as most people know, is Chicago. And it was obviously challenged by Second Amendment advocates, firearms retailers, and gun owners. And now it was basically said that it's fine. I consider this a Jim Crow tax. I consider this a penalty on the poor. Jackie, start us off.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, first of all, it's Chicago, so I mean, I'm not surprised by it. But yeah, I mean, you're penalizing legal gun owners, people who are trying to go about it the right way. And, you're penalizing the poor, people who can't, afford this. Like, so what? Because I can't afford to pay this tax, my life isn't worth protecting. Like, it's totally, totally unfair.
Yeah, Ben?
And this is it, and I don't they have sales tax in Illinois? I'm not completely. So they're going to pay sales tax on top of another tax, plus whatever for ammo. It's ridiculous. I'm hoping to see something like this go all the way up to Supreme Court, and hopefully then just be like, yeah, goodbye.
Yeah, for our listeners, plaintiffs provide no evidence. This is what the court said. Plaintiffs provide no evidence that the tax will have the effect of preventing their ownership or possession of firearms, or that it affects the ability of law-abiding citizens to retain sufficient means of self-defense. He went on to contend that since the tax did not ban firearms or outright restrict their ownership or possession, it did not violate the Second Amendment, and added, the tax is a valid exercise of Cook County's home rule power to tax. Illinois, man, it's going to be a tough go for you guys. I apologize. You guys need to get out in droves and fight for your rights, in my opinion. Utah teacher brings back segregation, tapes off Second Amendment zone in her classroom. Did you guys read this?
Yep.
Washington Examiner, this comes to us from. And Jackie, why don't you paraphrase it for us?
So basically, this teacher is against the Second Amendment. So she, I think it was a she, maybe it was he, I don't know. Cordoned off with caution tape a place for anybody exercising their Second Amendment right by carrying, which it's legal to do in Utah in classrooms. Sectioned off a little place and wanted the students to sit in that designated area to make a point. I think it backfired because that person has been reassigned now. But yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, utterly. I'm saying insane a lot. That might even be the title of this episode. But Ben, what do you think?
They identify as a potato. And it's not, and I think there's recently another Utah teacher that removed themselves from the classroom because they were afraid of students because they can carry guns. It's this whole, it's getting ridiculous.
I love that it was a 3x3 foot and was supposed to have all the other gun carriers. Honestly, guys, I would have been proud to stand in the Second Amendment zone, and I would have stood there the entire class. I would have been early. I would have stayed late, and I would have never complained about it. I would have been there the entire time, because that's what this country should be. We should be proud, and we should stand for our rights, no matter what those rights are.
First in, last, right?
Yeah. I'm mad. I'm mad tonight. The news is really making me mad tonight. I don't know. Would you guys stand there, or would you just leave?
Oh, hell yeah, I'd be there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be there. Could I bring my AR and sling it across my back?
Okay. Probably not, but maybe. It depends.
Why flout it? But I would stand there proudly.
Hogg and company march on Smith & Wesson, demand $5 million for their cause. This is David Hogg. He is incorrectly labeled a school survivor, in my opinion, because he wasn't at the school when the shooting happened in Parkland, Florida. But that's neither here nor there. They marched on Smith & Wesson and basically said, look, we want you to donate $5 million to gun control research. And if you don't, we are going to destroy your business. Ben, what would your response be?
Isn't that blackmail?
It appears like it to me. Yeah, that's what I would think.
I say we march on him with shackles and take him to federal prison.
You would think. You would think that would be a good option. I mean, Ben, what would you speculate he expects the outcome of this to be?
Oh, he's obviously so deluded within himself that he expects that he'll be fine and the law should protect him, because he's obviously not breaking it. But he is breaking it. If it is indeed, I believe that's blackmail. I could be wrong. But he's so deluded. He expects them to just quit making guns because I said so. Well then, yeah. You need to quit providing healthcare because you can't afford it or something. I don't know. It's just stupid.
Yeah. Jackie, lay it down for us.
Well, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out why he's targeting Smith & Wesson. I mean, I get that supposedly it was a Smith & Wesson rifle, but like nobody from Smith & Wesson was rolling in with that doing the shooting. Last time I checked, it was a mentally ill kid. And, on the same note, is Hogg going to Cruz's family and asking them to pay money towards gun violence research? Under that same line of thinking? I don't think so. So to demand something of Smith & Wesson is just utterly ridiculous. I don't know. Somebody get that kid a juice box. I feel like he's just hangry.
Yeah, don't like the kid at all. I think he's not a great person just from what I've seen. And I don't even care. If you want to hate the Second Amendment, if you hate guns, that's totally fine. Like, we can be friends. But this, just something about him turns me off. And I'll also say this. The officers responding, what are the chances that those officers either had a Smith & Wesson M&P pistol? What are the chances that those officers had a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 or whatever the model is for the AR-15s that a lot of law enforcement have? So, it's just this more ridiculousness that he wants Smith & Wesson to pay $5 million for what he considers a good spend, when the people who came there to actually help and to end this threat probably responded with Smith & Wesson firearms. David Hogg, go away. Don't like you. Don't want you. This is the full auto news segment, guys. It's kind of just some other stuff that gets thrown randomly at the end, and we all pick one. I will talk first while you guys look through and figure out which one you want to do. Tennessee felon thought undercover cops were burglars, so he shot at them. This one's interesting to me for a couple of reasons. A, because it was an awful shoot, in my opinion, but also B, because undercover detectives were investigating around his house. They did not identify themselves as police officers. I actually know a guy here locally that had a situation similar to this, saw people breaking in. They did not identify themselves as police officers. He shot through a door. Ended up basically nothing happened. Everything was let go because they did not identify themselves. Where I have a problem with it is that he came outside of his home while the officers were outside their car and just started shooting at them. Excuse me. Most people know that in self-defense situations like that, you can't defend property with deadly or lethal force in most places. Just depends on the place that you're at. And if someone is retreating, someone is leaving, you never fire at them because then you become the aggressor. So obviously a lot of bad stuff here. This guy was actually a felon, couldn't even have firearms. So he was not only charged with everything else, but also illegal possession of firearms. Any thoughts on this one, Jackie? I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is just bad business all around. Stuff is just stuff. At the end of the day, it's not worth getting put in jail over, and it's not worth getting yourself killed over. So, as Elsa would say, let it go.
Let it go. Ben, anything left on that one?
No, it's almost as bad as Florida, man.
I know. Well, speaking of Florida, Ben, what's your story?
Well, Florida woman instead kills on meth, kills boyfriend. Apparently she got in a fight with her boyfriend. He punched her twice in the face. Before the date, she was smoking some meth, getting ready for the date. Not my first choice before a date. I usually put on some cologne. But instead, he was cheating on him. He left, came back after he punched her in the face, and so she shot him. And then said, just to top it off to the police, that he committed suicide.
Wow. All right. That's fair. I don't know. Any thoughts on that one, Jackie? Or
that's just a trip of a story, man. Like that has such an arc to it.
I totally agree. And also where it happened, Thanatasasa, Florida. Mm-hmm. Thanos was right, I guess. I don't know. Jackie, what's your story?
So a man thought female drivers were incompetent, so he shot them. This is out of Texas. 20-year-old Nicholas D'Agostino. He hated women drivers so much that he just started shooting them up. Said that in court documents, he had such a dim view of women that he thought that their sole purpose was to give birth to male children.
Wow. Yeah. I'm looking at his mugshot. I don't think he has the dead eyes, but he looks like an a-hole.
Yeah, he's totally got an a-hole vibe there.
Yeah, I'm not down. Ben, did you look at this? I mean, it kind of looks like you, Ben. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
No,
So,
Ben, complex, right?
No, I'm sorry, man. What do you think of women drivers, Ben?
I'm fine with women drivers. Actually, being in the off-road industry side of things, It's another one of those rising markets, demographics. Sorry, wrong wording. And I've seen they're more level headed, in my opinion. I'm a hot head on the road sometimes, and I'd much rather see more women drivers out there. Granted, they need to learn left lane, right lane, middle lane things, but most drivers do. So yeah.
There we go, Ben. I knew it was you. I just trapped you into it, and you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Were they all the left lane? That's the $1 million question.
I don't know, but yeah, what a idiot. I'm glad he'll be off the streets because, man, we don't need people like him out there.
Just a sissy beard instead.
Yeah,
of a neck.
Absolutely. Just kidding. All right, guys. So Ben, actually, that does it for our stories tonight. We kicked butt and covered a lot of ground, and I truly appreciate you guys. Your contributions were awesome tonight. Ben, what have you been up to? Where can people find the Off-Road Podcast and everything else that you do?
Well, everything Off-Road Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and then also on the Firearms Radio Network. So we've been pretty busy on there. I've been doing a bunch of trips this year. I bought myself a Toyota instead of a Jeep for once.
I saw that.
So I've been going everywhere with it. If you live in Washington and you see a camouflage Toyota 4Runner, it's me, because no one else has a rig like mine. We just picked up a sponsor. I haven't announced who it is yet, so wait for that announcement. Other than that, it's just been going out. I got promoted to sales at Rainier, so that's been fun. We had TriggerCon. I got to hang out with Ryan Cross, Chad from the Firearms Insider, and Adam Kraut. So that was pretty cool. It was really fun show at TriggerCon, and got to meet a lot of cool people. I'm looking forward to next year.
So awesome. So Off-Road Podcast, like, what do you guys talk about?
So we try to carry over a lot of things. We've got an upcoming episode where we're going to be talking about buying a car from an auction to build up into your own wheeler.
Nice.
We're off talk to we're going to have we just released an episode with some gals that are doing the Rebel Rally, which is a ladies only off-road navigational challenge. If you're familiar with the Dakar Rally, kind of like that, but not, or the Baja 1000, but this is for ladies only. It's a new rally. I think this is the second or third year, and it's really exciting. I wish I had the right anatomy to go do this. I'm kind of jealous.
It sounds like it would actually be a lot of fun.
Yeah. They've got like I think they spend 8 days going off-road. So we just had the two dames race team, and then we'll have we've got all sorts of interviews coming up. It's been busy.
That's so awesome, man. Check them out. Off-Road Podcast. You can find it at firearmsradio.tv. Ben, thanks for being a good sport and let me pick on you tonight.
Oh, no problem. I like being picked on. I'm used to it.
Jackie, how about you? What have you been up to?
Lots of stuff. The news has been busy, as evidenced by tonight. So it's been wild. It's been a busy past few weeks with everything, but I'm slowly making my way through all that stuff.
Very awesome. Have there been any standouts, firearms, accessories, anything like that, or is just summer just blah?
Summer's kind of slow, but I think we'll be picking up here soon as we enter fall.
Very cool. You actually, you mentioned earlier to me that you've interviewed Cody Wilson from DefCAD and Defense Distributed a few times, actually. And where did you write those articles?
Those are all on guns.com. The latest one ran last week. It was on the whole Shopify thing. He threw his cents in the ring on that, and he is definitely pursuing legal action against them. So that'll be one to watch.
Very cool. Any stuff you're excited about? I think last time you had talked about appendix carry and mentioned that to us. That article came out. I read it. It was really good. Any stuff that has you really excited right now that's kind of a little bit of a more long-term project?
So I'm going to start working on an article about podcasts soon. So I'll be looking for people to interview about that. I don't know where I would find someone.
I don't know.
I'll just have to do my research. But yeah, I'm excited about that one. I'm going to kick that one off soon. And I'm excited to talk to a bunch of people about that.
Very cool. And they can find you on Twitter, Instagram, guns.com, all the places, right?
All the places, Instagram, Micro Jackie with an I, JCKI, and guns.com, Shooting Sports USA, and concealcarry.com.
All right. I love it. Thank you guys so much for being here. A couple of my favorites. Absolutely. The people who are watching live actually absolutely enjoyed it too, and enjoyed your contributions. Everyone who's watching, everyone who's listening, go check out our advertisers. Patriot Patch Company, that's patriotpatch.co, and Manticore Arms, manticorearms.com. Bullpup Shoot is coming up September 15th. Got a couple more weeks to plan for that. It's at the site training in Mount Carroll, Illinois. Not too bad of a drive if you are local or from a surrounding state, but I promise it's a lot of fun. September 15th, find out all the details at bullpupshoot.com, and hope to see you there. It really, truly is a good time. Guys, This Week in Guns is produced by Kenny Ortega and is a production of the Firearms Radio Network. We'll talk to you next week.